Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro, friends. Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Elixir Specialty Coffee. Looks like whiskey, feels like tea, made from coffee, and unlike anything you've ever tasted before. If you would like to start serving Elixir in your cafe or in any business that you think that Elixir would work well, contact hello@Elixir Specialty Coffee. No, that's not the right email address. hello@elixirfy.me. That's hello@elixirfy.me, or contact us through our contact page at elixirspecialtycoffee.com. Today on the podcast, I'm going to talk about something that seems to have not changed in the 15 plus years that I have been in the specialty coffee world. And that's this idea that coffee professionals find it very difficult to admit what we don't know. And I think it's taken me this long to really understand why this is. And I really do wish that we could get over it. But I think it's going to be another 10 years before we do get over it. And the reason I think that we don't want to admit what we don't know as individuals is because we don't have a structured path to professionalism. We don't have a university degree that we have to go through. We don't have a qualification program that we have to go through that is mandated by some sort of organization that requires that you go through that before you're allowed to work in our industry. An industry that would be an example of that is the legal profession. So you have to go to university and then you have to sit an exam, the bar exam, and then once you've done that, then you're allowed to practice as a lawyer, and you feel that you've stepped into all the qualifications that you need to have the right to call yourself a lawyer. In our industry, we don't have that. And so we spend a lot of time kind of feeling our way in the dark as to what are all of the things I'm supposed to know and what do I need to know to be qualified to do what I need to do. And because of that, what I find is that people find it difficult to admit what they don't know. And this, I'm absolutely guilty of this. When I was coming up as a barista, pretty much everybody was faking it until they made it. Like, I remember talking with Tim Wendelboe about this on the podcast when he came on. And we were talking about how for so many years, we all pretended that we knew what we were talking about. And that was pretty much the same across the world. And then the internet showed up and people started exchanging ideas, but in forums that were quite aggressive and quite ego-laden. And now what you'll find is that that hasn't changed when you'll turn up to a cafe and people are confronted when they're asked with a question and they don't know how to answer it. So instead of just saying, I don't know, because they're at work and they're meant to know, they'll make some shit up. And a friend was talking with me yesterday about how he was encountering this in his own cafes. And the friend had attended a bunch of training that we had done as a part of the consulting work for Map It Forward, which had skilled the leadership team on all the information that they needed to know about brewing coffee and cupping and tasting, and they had the real fundamental basics. And this empowered him to go in and speak to his employees about just some general questions so that he could get an understanding of what they did know and what they didn't know. And when he was asking someone this question, he simply asked, like, what are your dial-in numbers or what are your extraction numbers on espresso? And so when the barista responded to him with the numbers, judging him, knowing the coffee and judging from what he himself had been dialing in at, he realized that the numbers that this barista was quoting were going to be would result in an under-extracted coffee. And very graciously, he didn't want to shame this barista, but he did need the barista to know that the coffee wasn't extracting properly. And so he got him to pull a shot. He tasted the shot and it was sour. And knowing how to approach that conversation is actually more than just about the espresso at the time. And it's a part of a greater, not just workplace problem, it's a part of the greater industry problem that we're facing, in that we don't require our employees or our professionals to have to undergo any kind of understanding or testing to know that they understand the fundamentals of what they are doing. This could be easily fixed if people who were employing people knew the fundamentals. They understood what an under-extracted espresso or coffee tasted like. If they understood what an over-extracted coffee tasted like. If they understood refracting. If you understood the fundamentals of roasting. If you had specific requirements of the kind of language that people knew how to use around coffee and customer service. What you could do is, as a part of the onboarding process, the hiring process, give people a questionnaire. It could be just 10 questions. And in there, what it could have is questions like, give me one word to describe the flavor profile of an under-extracted espresso, a well-extracted espresso, and an over-extracted espresso. And, you know, they're the really simple words to look for. And you know, sour, juicy, and bitter. So they're the different things that you could be looking for that tell you that this person understands what they're talking about. Now, if they don't know how to answer those questions, it's an indicator for you as to how much training this person's going to need. However, it rests on the laurels that you as an owner, you as the employer, know the fundamentals yourself. You as the person who is hiring know the fundamentals yourself. This goes to the challenge of what we're talking about today. Most owners, most managers, most leaders don't want to admit what they don't know to themselves or to anybody else, because this puts them in a perceived position of weakness. Same thing with business. A lot of owners don't want to, and particularly new cafe owners or roastery owners, don't want to admit that they don't know what a profit and loss statement is and what it means and how to read it. And I want you to know you're not alone. I was right there with you. I was scared to admit, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about when someone says to me, what does your balance sheet say? The way out of that, the way to remove that anxiety from your realm, from your existence, is to get empowered. When it comes to business, when it comes to coffee extraction, when it comes to the coffee supply chain, when it comes to the sea market, when it comes to all of these things that are typically difficult to have conversations about because you don't have all the information, you do have the mechanisms to learn about them. And it's not difficult to get access to the content. There are a lot of podcasts out there in the coffee world now that are talking about this kind of stuff. And so I invite you to empower yourself and your vocabulary and your career and your business and all of it, with deciding to take the first step into understanding what it is that you don't know. And when you can be honest with yourself about what it is that you don't know and what it is that you struggle to have a conversation about, if you're asked questions about it, and once you know what it is you don't know and you have a written down list of all of the things that you don't know, then you can start going about the business of setting a plan in how to learn about it. In some instances, it will be as easy as watching a 3-minute YouTube video. Make sure that the sources that you're using to get your information are great, because there are great resources out there. In other instances, you may have to take courses. You may have to join Facebook groups and start conversations. You may have to find a mentor and get them to help you with things. You may have to hire an accountant. You may have to do a variety of different things. But just know you don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to constantly sit in the anxiety of not knowing, because there's nothing that you can't learn. And peace of mind comes with empowering yourself with the information that you need to have intelligent conversation about your profession, about your career, and about your business. Use it as a mechanism towards freedom and grow in your map, in your career map. This is what I really want to encourage people to do. We will be, with this concept in mind, holding workshops next year throughout 2020 to help with this empowerment process. So keep your eye out on mapitforward.org/events, and we're pretty keen, and we're pretty confident that you're going to be happy with what we've got in store. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Have an amazing rest of your day.